This episode sponsored by GoToAssist Express. Cochran here from the Geek News Central podcast, part of our coverage of the Consumer Electronics Show 2010, and we're at Seagate, and we're talking with John about a brand new product that's being announced today that I think you're all going to be very excited about. John's going to get a little deep with us on the technical aspects of this product, so hang on tight because here we go. John?
Todd, thanks very much. Yeah, you said it. We're announcing our USB 3.0 version of the Seagate Black Armor PS110. It's about performance. It's about speed. USB 3 is that next generation interface, standards-based interface. Everyone knows what USB is, but it's an interface with a little kick to it. So what we've got here is a demonstration. We've got a standard USB 2.0 PS110, and then we have the USB 3.0 version of PS110. Now I should mention here, when we ship this is actually a performance kit. It's not just the drive. There are no installed USB 3.0 ports out in the world yet today. So in this kit, we include not only the drive, but the express card with the USB 3.0 interface, as well as the cables needed to get it running. So we have that all replicated here. It's a portable product. This is designed for notebook use. We don't have a desktop product announced yet, just the portable product. But that's where most of these people need this performance. It's not something that's needed yet on a desktop. And on the desktop, if you need performance, you probably got eSATA. So this is where we think the market's headed. This is where people are interested in speed and performance. So let's take a look at what we can actually do with this. Again, we've got the USB 2.0 and the USB 3.0. What I'm going to do is run an application that tests the read speed and the write speed of the respective drives. And then we'll look at them side by side to see what the real world experience is. While those tests are running, we can talk about theoretical versus real, because there are some major points there that people really need to understand. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start this application. The application is called Crystal Disk Mark. And I'm going to start this first on our USB 3 drive, which is our G drive. And then I'm going to run this sequential test. It's going to do 5 reads, and then it's going to do 5 writes, and it's going to report the average of both. So it's preparing the drive now, and we'll see the results as each one comes up. So the first one should pop up here in a minute. So we're getting 98.5 megabytes per second read speed. Okay, now let's talk, as this continues to run, let's talk about that theoretical difference. USB 3 is 10 times faster than USB 2. USB 2 is rated at 480 megabits per second. So that means USB 3 is rated at 4.8 gigabits per second. Some people refer to it as a 5 gigabit per second interface. Problem is the drive inside is a 3 gigabit per second interface drive. It's a SATA drive. It's a 3 gigabit per second SATA interface. But even that interface won't be achieved. You never get 3 gigabits per second across the drive. So what we're going to see here, that 98 megabytes per second is roughly 800 megabits per second. Well, that's a phenomenal improvement over what you get on USB 2. USB 2 doesn't operate at its own theoretical limits. And we'll see that when we do the USB 2.0 interface speed. But we are seeing in real-world experiences, in a real-world application, about a 3x performance improvement because we're saturating the drive itself. It's not USB 3, it's the drive.
So while the spec is rated to that, we're just really at a hardware limitation.
We are at a hardware limitation right now. We're going to step over in a minute and look at what can be done when you start writing simultaneously to 2 drives to show where you really start getting those performance benefits. Because when you are able to speed up that interface of the drive, right, to 2 of them simultaneously, you get twice the write speed. We get a dramatic performance improvement. So now we've got we're on the, we actually have finished. So we had 98 megabytes per second on the read, and we had 67 megabytes per second on the write. Now let's go over, and I'm going to launch the application again, and we're going to then run it on the USB 2.0 drive so we can see side by side what the real world performance metrics look like. So we'll take a look now. It's going to go into that preparing of the drive, and the drive spun up, and it's now going to start doing its very first read instantiation. And we're going to see numbers in the 30 megabyte per second range. Okay, 32 megabytes per second on a read. We'll see numbers on the write when they come up in the 20s. So we always see a difference between the read and the write. The write takes longer because you write and then you read to verify. And the read is obviously your native, what do you get best? So 100 megabytes a second is pretty darn good for a USB attached device. Now if you want and we have the time, we can go run this a third time on the drive inside the PC. It's a SATA drive attached to the motherboard on a SATA interface. It actually performs on a slower read than the USB 3.0 external device.
That's pretty amazing considering, today I get most aggravated because I'll drag a file from whatever drive to another and it says, okay, 23 minutes. If it's a big video file, and I'll go have a cup of coffee or do something and wait for it. So really now, the time to transfer stuff is going to be just dramatically faster.
Absolutely right. And that's why this particular product is so important. It's USB.
Right.
So you could do it with eSATA, right? And you can get a similar experience. It's going to saturate the drive at about the same speed, 100 megabytes a second. But now I can take this device and plug it into any USB 2.0 plug anywhere, which means I can get the content onto this drive in a third the time I can get it onto a USB 2.0 drive. I can carry this drive then over to my Theater Plus in my living room and plug it into the USB 2.0 port and play everything back. So I now just improved that experience that you just referred to as frustrating. The amount of time it takes to move these very large video files and data collections. It's a lot faster when you start talking about performance improvement.
And another thing too is we've just backed the content up.
Yeah. If you're using a Theater product and you put your stuff on your external drive to go play it, you now have 2 copies. We'd like that. So if you have a failure somewhere, now you are protected, at least on those precious memories.
Looks like it finished up.
So this finished. So we got a 24 megabyte a second write and a 32 megabyte a second read on USB 2, 24 to 66. So that's actually better than 3 times. And 32 to 98, which is just about 3 times. So we're getting a real-world 3x performance improvement. Now, for fun, let's go look.
Before we go there, what's this going to cost?
So this is announced at 4 p.m. on January 5th. At 4 p.m. on January 5th, you can go to Seagate.com and purchase it. We have it. It's ready to go. It's $179 for the kit. Includes the express card, includes the cables. It's a 7,200 RPM 500 gigabyte drive. It's interesting. I didn't mention this earlier. We put a 7,200 RPM drive in here. It's a 5,400 RPM drive in the USB 2 version. Why? Because it won't benefit. USB 2 doesn't have the bandwidth or the headroom to give you that improvement for 7,200, so why bother?
It's nearly impossible to find a 7,200 RPM drive in any USB 2.0 product.
It doesn't make sense to put it in it. Yeah, you're throwing cost away.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a lot easier to do it with the standard 54s.
So what you got cooking on this side?
Let's go over here. We're going to take a look at. I'm going to close that and we're going to relaunch it. We have here just a technology demonstration. What we have is 2 Seagate Barracuda drives, standard desktop drives. They're, I believe these are 1 terabyte drives. They're 7,200 RPM. They're now in a configuration of RAID 0. RAID 0 is important here because that means we can write to both drives simultaneously. Your data is split and spanned between the 2. It's then put onto a USB 3.0 interface. We've got a USB 3.0 PCIe card in the desktop computer that's in the station here. And what we're looking at is the performance. We're going to see, we're running the same test, same software that we have over here. So I'm now going to run that speed test. And we're going to see some amazing numbers. Now, the reason is, again, remember, we were saturating the drive here. I now have 2 drives to saturate. So where I had 100 megabyte a second reads over here, I have 218 megabytes a second over here. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Let it run through its test. Then we'll test the internal drive. It's a 7,200 RPM SATA drive inside the system unit here. It's half the speed because we're saturating the drive. We're now saturating 2 drives simultaneously, which means we get a dramatic improvement in the speed. So this is really fascinating to see because this is where things really start to make a difference. It's still USB attached. I can copy things here. In a sixth the time, I can do it onto a USB 2.0 device. And then carry this around, plug it into a USB 2.0 jack on my Theater Plus and play all the stuff back. Phenomenal what you can do now. So now it's going through the write cycles.
220 and 176. That's just remarkable.
It's amazing when you start looking at that. Now I'm going to launch this one more time, and this will be the last thing we do, and we're going to run it on the internal drive itself, okay? So now it's running on the internal SATA drive. And let's look at that first read speed as it comes up, 113. So I now have an external device that's twice as fast as the internal drive in the computer that's fast to begin with.
I'd have never thought that was possible, but I'm seeing it right here in between. That's amazing.
This is going to change how we all deal with stuff. So this is just a technology example. It is not an announcement by us. It's just what's possible. But when you see this and you look at those differences, you go, wow, I think we need to do something about that.
Well, folks, the test is finishing up here, but I want to thank you for taking time with us today and showing us technology from Seagate. I'm really excited about this drive. I'll definitely be ordering one myself to have it, because when you're dealing with a lot of video like we are, transferring that stuff takes forever. And I know all of you are shooting a lot of video out there too. So now we got to just figure out how to just keep it all organized. But you guys have some solutions for that as well. But thank you for your time.
Todd, thanks very much.
Starting your own computer business could not be easier with GoToAssist Express, an easy and secure remote support solution purpose-built for individuals, small businesses, and professionals who need to support clients. With the click of your mouse, start a support session. Your client simply enters the code you give them on the fastsupport.com website. With their permission, you have the same access to their computer that you have of your own. You can examine programs, check and modify control panel settings. GoToAssist Express gives you full access to their desktop. Need deeper access? Run the GoToAssist Express diagnostic application to get a system summary, application list, processes, programs that start when the computer starts, network connections, devices, services, along with installed applications, and much, much more. Easily send and receive files back and forth between your and your client's computer. Have another support request come in and need to do 2 support sessions at the same time? You can run multiple support sessions with GoToAssist Express. Included is an interactive chat client. As you can see, the menu bar of the GoToAssist Express gives you everything you need to do online support. To try GoToAssist Express right now, free for 30 days, you must visit gotoassist.com/techpodcast. That's gotoassist.com/techpodcast for a free trial.